Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the hottest content on the internet. It's hot or not. How you doing, brother?
What a segue that was. Beautiful. I'm doing very well. Yeah, you?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good. This week, we've got some spicy hot or nots. I'm going to go straight into it. And my first hot is one you're going to particularly like, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's behind the scenes content. I think brands, projects, companies, I think they're missing this one viral ingredient.
Okay.
And it's almost free. It's one you'll particularly like. It's behind the scenes content. I know you've always loved this, right?
Yeah.
I think behind the scenes content is really hot right now. And let me tell you why. So obviously you get top line big campaigns that get a lot of money spent on them. Now that's still great for high level, broadcast, TV, big website campaigns, things that I would say social media channels feed the audience into watching. But social channels are now giving brands and companies the opportunity to sort of create stories within stories. So below that sort of big tentpole campaign that you've got, you could do a whole load of behind the scenes stories. And, it's not just showing how the campaign was made, but you could talk about some of the characters behind that campaign. What you do is you actually create a story within a story, a narrative. You start building these different threads that are a little bit more gritty, a little bit more handheld. When I'm saying they're almost free, for the price of, a phone or a sort of a handheld camera, you can create these sort of quite gritty stories and start building up characters even pre-launch before you launch a big campaign. So you have all these different characters going on social. I think that content works much better on social. It's much more authentic. It gives people a view behind the curtain, which I think more and more audiences want, especially with social channels. And, there's sort of the rise of this casual lo-fi content, I think, often outperforms the big campaigns. Now, the campaigns work as a nice sort of tentpole PR thing for people to be drawn to. But I think this behind the scenes content, if done with a sort of a storytelling and narrative aspect, can be really beneficial. And I think brands are going to win big with that this year.
Well, there's probably a couple of things I want to add to that. First is a warning. The warning I would have is that I have seen a couple of people attempt this and make it too polished.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's not to forget that you actually want the behind the scenes bit. But the psychology of this, I think, you can imagine this in your own world, whatever you're interested in. And the one that occurs to me, just because I happened to go very recently, was the cliche tourism around a big cathedral piece, right? And you go to these incredible buildings, which, like campaigns, would put hours and agony into every last detail and nuance. And all I want to do is go in the locked door up the tower, then the thing, just want to go and see by there. All you could think is, I wonder what's in that secret room. And of course, behind the scenes, it's going to like plain stone. They won't have put all the effort in, but you just want to see how that was put into action. It could be the same for cars and Ferrari. Everybody wants to see in the factory. So there's this beautiful place you can go and do the pickup, and everybody's seen that, but no one's seen in the secret bunker where they keep the cars hidden away. And it's that vibe. It's this idea that you don't get to see normally and you'd love to have access, that I think is the reason people going for this.
So when you're talking about polish, I know what you mean. You mean scripted. I think strategically it could be done in a way where it's almost an extension of the campaign. You've got sort of sub-stories happening, which can be sort of strategically planned. But to your point, I think you keep it lo-fi, you keep it different to the top of the campaign, and you make people feel it's authentic. I think that's the important bit. And, before and after shots, obviously, that is obviously a classic sort of social trope. I think people don't want ads shoved in their face. I say that being Super Bowl, everyone's bloody talking about the Super Bowl, which annoys me. But I do think that, people want that sort of more authentic behind the scenes storytelling. And I think brands can approach it in a really strategic and effective way.
Ultimately, as you said at the beginning, it's incredible ROI. You're already spending most of the money involved.
Exactly.
It's a very small add-on to get 5x the content. So for sure.
Okay. So the second hot or not of the week, I think the B2B marketing playbook has changed. And here's how I think B2B businesses can win. It's been a hot topic this week in the office.
Yeah.
It is B2B to C.
Yes. Okay.
We've spoken about
I'm listening.
Well,
Convince me. Sell me. Pitch me.
We've spoken about it before, but I really wanted to press again on this in 2025. I think, people are talking about B2B needing to go B2C. I saw something, what was it? It was a Dom Jolly campaign. It sort of was quite big and linked in this week. I wouldn't say that particular video I saw of Dom Jolly, I can't remember who it was for, but it was a B2B comms piece, video, and it had Dom Jolly sort of bringing out his old thing of shouting on a phone. And it was very, humor. It was too long. If I was to give my own thing, I think it was too long. I sort of lost interest after a while. But what was interesting is it gained a lot of traction online this week. And I think it is part of a growing trend of B2B businesses realizing that B2B comms is changing, has changed. And
Can I pick up on a nuance here? Because I think we have spoken about it.
Yeah.
I think there are two lenses. Not sure. Maybe I'm just looking for the clarity.
No, that's right.
Is it B to B to C, as in you are trying to talk to the consumer so that the business can do business? Or the other narrative we've shared, which is that actually just B2B comms.
It's both.
Yeah.
It's
so
absolutely
both.
These
together.
Yeah, for sure. We are talking to a brand at the moment, top secret, who are a B2B brand, but in your point, want consumers to drive the businesses to basically...
Yeah, because there's creating demand for your product so that other business needs to buy from you. Makes a lot of sense. But almost that is an easier sell to stick with a consumer narrative. The interesting point that adds to this is this idea that we forget that B2B is still just people to people, and that you're still interested in fundamentally the same thing.
I don't know whether it's we've forgotten, because I think decision makers in businesses are people who are of the generation who are just as attention sapped as everybody is, and very much scan over things quickly, need to make decisions quickly, and also, and I'm making a huge assumption here,
love those, never goes wrong,
exactly, have more of an opening to humor, advertising, marketing narratives than, say, an older generation did, where everything had to be a bit more dry, a bit more formal. And I think it's a generational thing. I certainly think social media's driven it. I think whether you're a business or consumer, I think people still don't have much time to consume your content. There's so much content around. It needs to be fast-paced, entertaining. You need to grab people's attention in the first second, which is all sort of great playbook stuff from a consumer point of view. But I really think the Dom Jolly thing I saw this week, for me, is just a growing trend where I think B2B businesses need to ditch the corporate tone, think about format, use the right talent, and, test, learn, and adapt.
Talent's an interesting part of that. I think that's bigger than you realise. That's, I think, really important. I just do feel that you can't necessarily suggest that the good leadership of your company have to be inherently good on camera. If they are, great, use them in both capacities. But if they're not, that's okay. You don't have to wheel out the actual person. You can have the spokesperson of a company. It can be more fun. We've spoken about that previously with Charles Stanley and Erica. I think she's just an amazing example of that. She turns a very dry thing into something interesting by being a really great presenter.
Well, having talent represent
really
you is more of a consumer device anyway. Yeah. Third hot, something I've seen in Adland, is the new Kellogg's advert. Kate O'Connor is someone I follow on LinkedIn. She made a video about this new ad. Now, if you haven't seen the ad, it is, all they've done is taken the O and the G in the middle of the Kellogg logo, basically zoomed in on it, got the cockerel there with the OG. Now, what Kate was asking was, in Adland, people going crazy about this. But outside of Adland, does anybody care? And I think, although she doesn't quite give her stated opinion, I think she was suggesting that the ad doesn't say that much, that anyone outside of Adland, it doesn't mean anything to them.
I think that's fine.
Well,
it's brand recognition, isn't it? We all know by now what they are.
That's kind of what I'm saying. It's a distinctive enough brand asset. I think if I was not in Adland, I think I would just look at that. I would instinctively know what it was, and I don't think there needs to be meaning in it.
Yeah, this is absolutely, for me, don't let the data ruin some good creative campaign. So I suppose her point would be, is the ROI as measurable, and can we track every interaction? Maybe not, but I think that's great. If it has an impact and it reminds you of the brand in their sense, I think that's an important part of what it means in today's age.
It might just be that to make more of an emotional connection with the consumer, there might need to be some more sub-narratives within that. I'm not sure I agree with it.
Well, this presupposes that they're not going to think about other ways of weaving in an OG type story, because I'm sure there's an opportunity to do that, right? You could get the OG across all different sports to come and partner up with them, but I think it's clever, simple.
Talking about B2C comms, Surreal are one of the best marketers, I think, certainly, and they had a great response to it. So my first not, AI video generators. Obviously, we talk about this all the time, AI video generation. Revolutionary or not ready, my LinkedIn was flooded with a new player into the market called Icon. What I found interesting about this is I was obviously curious, went onto their website, and they still haven't launched yet. It's sort of a whitelist type thing at the moment. But the entry point is £1,000 a year.
Okay.
The whole idea is that you provide the AI images or any images you want. They'll come up with one ad campaign as well as a video to be able to go along with that ad campaign. So I think what they are saying is that You don't have to piece together all the different AI platforms to be able to sort of create content. You can do it with their one platform. I thought the campaign on LinkedIn seemed very obviously just activated a whole load of profiles to say similar things on the same day. And I just thought that price point was kind of wild considering they haven't launched. And actually, it didn't seem to be generating anything new. And I've seen a few posts recently where people are dedicating themselves to using AI for video generation. It's still not ready yet. And I find it interesting. You've got this sort of already a secondary market where the people are tying in together all these different platforms at a very high price point for something that just isn't there yet.
Okay, I haven't used it, so I'll withhold comment on whether it's any good. But to me, the pricing strategy is quite intelligent. You need to stand out. AI is a race to the bottom in lots of ways.
Yeah.
DeepSeek not only pointed that out, so it took $1 trillion off the US economy. But actually, if you can produce something of quality, then you can start to give it a monetary value, right? And if they have joined these things together, I suppose precisely because it's not working, if you try and use the £20 a month GPT type tools, you don't end up with a video that's worth having right now. So are they amazing or not ready? They're not ready. So to me, I think, oh, maybe someone's actually cracked it and therefore they've realized they can charge it. I don't think it's a sort of outrageous price. It sounds what they're trying to do is say, well, we're going to be a quality provider in there. I think there's room for that. It comes down to the execution, but
fair enough. Okay. Right. Second knot. I think the modern conference stroke event format is broken. I think,
this is bold,
especially for
as a man who's going to a lot of them
this year. I was going to start this by saying crypto conferences are different. They're not, actually. I think a lot of conferences are very expensive, and if we just take the panel discussions as an example, you'll pay a lot of money to go to a conference to watch 5, 6, 7 people on a panel. Because there's not much time and you've got so many people on a panel, they will just sort of give you the absolute top line notes on what they do.
I think that depends on the conference, but where that is true, it's definitely.
I think it's most conferences. I think people pay a lot of money and businesses pay a lot of money for employees to go. And I keep on hearing it's Paul McDonald, friend of the pod. Yeah, he's always talking about people want to network at events. And actually, if there is a learning and education section, whether it be panels or talks, if there are going to be those sessions, they need to be educational. So if you were to reformat that a little bit, you would say you'd want maximum 3 people on a panel, and you get the moderator to really drill into each one to give actionable feedback and insights into people, right? Now, I know this is difficult because events are built on sponsorships and there is a business model, a monetization model that means that people will need to pitch on stage. But in an ideal world, you'd really want a sort of a semi-workshop on stage to actually dig down into the stuff that they might not want to say on stage and actually give people insights. I think the networking events, fine, but like I've said before on this, a lot of the best events are niche events.
Yeah, my 2 pence worth would be the scale is the challenge.
Well, but even the niche events, I go to those niche events and I'm very much an outsider, and trying to penetrate into those cliquey bubbles that you find at niche events because everyone knows each other is difficult.
Yeah, okay, but that's as a sales move rather than there's a networking. For the people that work in that sector all the time, I think there's value. I think the bit where I was going was more about what's said on stage at these places.
Yeah.
The big stuff, the web summits of this world, generally pretty disappointing. However, when you drill down into actual niches where you start to go into a sector, I think there is an opportunity for insight. But I can count on my own point, which is I do think that one of the problems for that traditional conference is that with video and podcasts, all the things that are growing here, that information has become much more readily available. It used to be the only way of getting it, and now probably the difficulty is how do you persuade a speaker to keep their unique content only in your conference?
By making it educational. You know, a lot of the stuff you see on stage could be a video that you watch online.
Yeah. And I think that's a fair criticism, but within certain places, you know, regulated, there are places where they can't put that online and they can now have a more in-depth discussion. So I would say the smaller and more focused it gets, actually potentially the more value it can offer. But the one little thing is that, yes, maybe it's a good thing that you're just getting the team to go out and socialize, even if it's with other people in the sector.
I totally agree, but just get a better format for them to go to, right?
Yeah, it's an interesting one.
Final knot is Spanish gyms. I'm so sick to death of Spanish gyms. No towels, no shampoo. You know, I am used to luxury gyms for a princess like me, and I am sick to death of it. And you don't seem to have a problem with it.
No, but that's because my gym has towels and shampoo, so who am I to say?
I just, you know, Spanish gyms do better. Anyway, thank you very much for this week.
That was a roller coaster. Beautiful. I love the setups this week, babe. You were... Look at that.
Blush.
Some choice sound bites for you all to enjoy.
There you go. It's going to be big. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone. Lots of love. See you next week.